What kind of dangerous character you are there, Mike. Good morning.
Good morning.
Our conversation brought to you by Marcus and Mack, a law firm representing injured people. Despite the warnings against his character, we're going to have him on the air with us here. The principal of the Indiana Junior High School. Michael, we're a little over a month into the school year, and I know that the excitement of the new school year in September is one thing, and everybody is thrilled to be there, and it takes a little bit of time to settle everybody down and get into the routine. After a month, are you feeling like you're in that routine now?
Oh, absolutely. I feel you're right on both accounts. Getting back into school, I think the kids, you could feel the excitement coming in, and in many ways it feels like we've been back longer than a month, but people are definitely into the routine, and we just had homecoming weekend, and looking forward to some of the events coming up later this fall. It's just education is in a lot of ways it's very calendar driven with all of the daily, weekly, monthly events, and so we're chugging along, and it's good to be back.
Yeah, you navigate the waters of a school year. I would assume that there are times when you expect that the waters will be a little bit rougher than at other times, and that there will be times in the course of a year where you say, you know what, it's getting a little bit stale. Let's switch things up. Let's make sure that everybody is still on the ball here. And you have to guard against the routine being the humdrum, don't you?
I in some ways, yes. Very true in some ways. In fact, before I called, setting off all those alarms, I'm not sure what that was all about, but it was good for a chuckle that I was looking at some school data, and we use a new way to gather evidence of student growth called Link It, and we give a baseline assessment. And in the fall, we do a mid-year around early January, and then we do one in the spring before the high-stakes assessments at the end of the school year, just to measure our growth. So that's a good way to guard against complacency. I always say that this profession there's never anything dull about it. It's something new all the time, and maybe it's partly just because the things that come and go, working with young people in terms of what garners our attention, but the business of educating kids and not being complacent with just the status quo of the way we plan and work to meet the needs of our students is certainly never dull. And so the data analysis is important. We just had a Act 80 day where we spent the whole day with a variety of really good adult learning opportunities. And then, of course, yesterday was our parent-teacher conferences where we get to meet with parents and talk about both strengths and areas of growth for our students. So it really is never dull, but that being said, you still do have to guard against the status quo and being complacent, which we work very hard at guarding against that.
It's interesting to me when you look at outside organizations that do rankings, and basically they are based on statistics and things of that nature without actually going into a building. Nietzsche came out with their rankings by building across the state of Pennsylvania, and they have Indiana Junior High with a B+, an A- in academic, an A in teachers, a B- in diversity. I don't know that is really something that the school district can control, the makeup of the student body when they come into the classroom. But it must hearten you to know that the teachers, the academic programs, they're so well thought of by organizations that are actually outside of your building.
Well, I don't really know what all they use to come up with those rankings. I think whenever we can get information like that, it certainly is good for our consideration. And I think when you have if it's an objective third-party organization, whether it's ranking us as a system or by building or even by department and grade level, that's part of the work in continuously getting better. I'm I'm not sure with the diversity rank if that's a reflection of overall demographics. I think we're an increasingly diverse population. Certainly being in the same backyard as IUP, certainly we have more diversity than some of our neighboring school districts, I believe. But we are always striving to get better, and a ranking such as this, I think, is provides us something for consideration, and compared with the other ways we gather information and measure our growth, it's valuable in that right.
Yeah, it's interesting to me to look at academics, because you as a professional in the middle of this, you have all kinds of different sources about how to design, and you provide all kinds of input to the various committees and administration officials about how to design an academic course for within a school building. And there are so many different angles and so many different departments that must be handled. The outside education and the outside resources that you have to take advantage of, they're probably much more than there have been in the past. Would I be correct in saying that you have a lot more access to understanding what's best in terms of academics in a given school setting?
Well, I think people have more and more of an interest in that information. I think knowing the scope and sequence of courses, knowing the materials that are being used, I think forming not only a consensus of what's considered best practice, but reflecting the values and what is desired knowledge to prepare students for the world. The world is changing at such a quick pace that I think reflecting on our own systemic practices to get better, I think even within departments to continuously review what we're focusing on was part of the conversation I was just having regarding our building data. We should be using this to. It's almost like game planning. When you're looking at the game film, when you consider student learning gaps as the opponent, you're trying to close those gaps and win where students are showing gaps. So you use information like the data that we're collecting to help close those gaps and win the day when it comes to helping students be even more prepared. And some of our departments are evolving at different paces than others because of the nature of their department, like anything in the technology area, or if it's STEM related, we're evolving at a much faster pace, I think, because industry demands that, whereas best practices in reading and mathematics, not that they don't change too. Certainly the way we measure growth is continuously evolving. The content maybe is a little bit more consistent, but it's never dull around here for sure. We just have an abundance of information, and people definitely have an interest in knowing what their children are learning and how do we prepare them for their next steps.
Yeah, and Shakespeare hasn't written anything new lately anyway, so take that into consideration.
It's true.
All right, this has been such a serious conversation. Let's forget about all that. What's going on in the hallways there at Indiana Junior High? I'm sure that there are pretty exciting things kids are involved in, and that this school year it's more than just academics. There's fun stuff there too. So, what are some of the things that are happening there within the building?
Well, we're kicking off our positive behavior support program this week. It's PBIS, and is a program that's been developed at the elementary levels, and if not for the disruptions to last school year and having a full complement of students here all year long, we would have kicked it off earlier, but we're starting off this program where we recognize the attributes that are positive attributes that develop good character and citizenship and individual strength and community across the building. So we give out their PBIS dollars. They're printed out just as a token to acknowledge students who are caught demonstrating those attributes, just of being responsible and compassionate and safe, leadership attributes and individual strength attributes. And we reward when children accumulate dollars, they get to cash them in at our school store for tokens that they know is a reward for just modeling what it is that we aspire for here. We're also planning some events later in the fall. We started with the fall drama. The play is going to happen in November. I'm not sure that we nailed a date for that yet, but I know that we began with the auditions and rehearsals started last week. We're starting with the elementary boys and girls basketball programs. I've been in communication with their boosters, so we're facilitating a lot of their practices here at the junior high. The boys, I believe, are beginning their the girls started last week with their tryouts 3rd through 6th grade. As you know, we have Eisenhower's 4th and 5th grade here as well as our own 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So we have a large group of those boys and girls. The next week are the boys' tryouts, and so basketball season is coming quickly. What else is going on? It's nonstop. Our student council is ramping up their activities, and that's going to include hopefully our monthly radio spots. We have to talk that out with you folks at the station just to coordinate that. But getting back into a lot of the things that were put on hold last year, which is really fun.
All right, we have to go. I thank you so much. Thank you so much.